Okay, so my project was to give my students a pen pal from across the globe, and I was very ambitious with this project, but that didn't stop me from at least trying to meet my objectives and show a little bit of progress with my project. And I'll kind of get into those details as I'm talking. So I'm going to start with my objectives. My objectives were that I wanted my students to improve on their test scores because they're getting more practice with grammar and they are teaching each other and they are seeing the ways that we should properly be writing. So that brings me to objectives, which I have not officially started the project in my room. And again, I'll get to that in just a second, but we have been practicing feedback with their peers and positive conversations with their peers. And this has improved their responses in their short answer portion of their test. I have seen better writing from my students, which I am super happy about because we haven't even officially started my project and my goal, and they're already doing so much better. So my current goal right now is that I'm wanting to get official approval from my administration. They're still working through some legalities, talking to people higher up in the district and the tech people, just because we are using school property and school emails, and my students are minors, wanting to communicate with somebody outside of the community, outside the district, outside of our state. So there's a lot of approval that needs to get done. So this brings me to my reflection portion. So I kind of have four things that I'm reflecting on. The first thing is admin approval. That is the approval of my principals and everybody involved. It takes a lot of steps to get it officially approved, and working documents that are constantly being created so this can work. The second thing we move into is parent approval. I need to once get admin approval, get parent approval that their students can be communicating on a professional level with somebody across the globe. And then what do I do if a parent does not approve? How can my students still get the same experience or practice as everybody else if they're not allowed to communicate in the way that the rest of the class is? So that's something that I'm also working through. The third thing is finding schools that are willing, near or far. I really have this big dream of these schools being far across the globe in a different country. I just think that would be such an amazing experience. But I understand that we can still get great practice and great experience from schools that are close to us in Kansas, that maybe allows us to communicate with their community who are ESL students. And then the fourth thing is lining up the activities, taking what we're learning, figuring out what our willing school is learning, meshing those together. How can everybody be improving at the same time? The next standard that I focused on the most was 4C. This is using collaborative tools to expand students' authentic real world learning experiences by engaging virtually with experts, teams, and students locally and globally. That word globally is what I focused on the most. My students will be collaborating using their tools given to them, which is their Chromebook and their Gmail, to communicate with students, that could be in Kansas or around the world, which I just think is so cool, and I think that would be super beneficial. And then my overall takeaway, the first thing, it takes a lot of work and planning. It takes a lot of work on my part and my students' part and the willing schools part to collaborate, to have conversations, to make things work together. Not that that's a bad thing, but it just takes a lot of time to make everybody successful. The second thing is being flexible with my students and myself, being flexible with our learning time, maybe understanding that our pen pals are waiting on us. So maybe we need to pause what we're currently working on and tend to our pen pals. The third thing is patience. Patience that things will get taken care of, the patience that people will be communicating in a timely manner. My students need to learn to be patient because their pen pals could be on a totally different time zone than them. And if they don't respond when they want them to or need them to, we need to be patient and wait. And not give up so easily. And the fourth is the approval. There are a lot of bodies and a lot of parties present, and there's a lot of approval that needs to be happening. So not that is negative at all, but it does just take a lot of approval and planning and a lot of conversation. So overall, I am super excited about this project as a whole. I think that it could be super awesome, but again, I'm still kind of waiting on the legality issue, but we have been practicing what we're going to do with our pen pals, but just, in our own school. And so that's been super great for my students.